There you go.
Oh,
Yeah, sweet.
oh, my bad. You good there?
Oh, you're good. Yeah, go for it, man. All you.
All right, sweet. All right, what's up, guys? We've got another episode of the Growth by Shawn podcast. So I'm here with a repeat guest, Billy G. Billy G, how you doing?
Not bad, man. I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, no, I'm super pumped. So if you haven't, I would urge you to go and listen to Billy was the fifth episode, which was over a year ago now, which is kind of crazy to think about, you know? Um, the difference between the two of us and the way we speak, the way we're going to communicate with each other today, I think is going to be a lot different. So I think it's going to be a really fun comparison to go from that episode to listen to this episode. I think that's going to be a big thing. So as opposed to just like going about like your story and a little bit about who you are and things, we'll get right into a conversation about kind of either where we are mindset wise, things like that, and these different shifts that have happened throughout like the past year, almost a year and a half now. So where I would love to start it and where we were chatting beforehand before we started hitting record, um, basically creating our own hero's journey, right? And I found that for myself, a lot of growth that has happened is it's hard to grow from a scarcity mindset, right? And in order to have everything that you want in an external world, you need to do a lot of internal work. Okay. So, where do you think people go wrong with starting their internal work? Do you think that they just look at the external or you know what? Let me rephrase this question and let's start here. So, when someone desires something externally, why do you think we want all of these external things? Let's just start kind of basic there.
Yeah, of course. One thing that pops up, it definitely popped up with me specifically, but it pops up in every client that I have because we are shown growing up the goals that we should have, the wants that we should have, and what life is supposed to look like. Whether you call that a checklist of, oh, I need to mark this off the list by the time I get this age, I need to have this car in my life, I need to have that white picket fence, that family with these kids, whatever it looks like for any individual. It could be different for everyone, it could be pretty similar. But when we're growing up, that's shown to us on every platform, whether that nowadays everyone has it on social media, but growing up, at least, I'm 30, I grew up watching that in cartoons shown to every
Mm,
kid. That was in movies, that was in my own home, that was in every magazine. There's nothing wrong with it,
mhm,
but we need to understand that when we're growing up, we're guiding people to kind of go through this process of, I want this, I want this, I need this. And what that does is it leads us to an external mindset, an external goal, or which is fine. Like everyone has them, and I applaud you for having it, because in the pursuit of that external goal, you become someone better. Now, that is where the shift in perspective needs to kind of go to internal, because you can only achieve that goal by becoming someone better, but becoming someone better is an internal goal.
mm,
So life is going to help you get there to that external want that you have. But the only way to reach that point and actually enjoy it, to realize, hey, I did it. Let me give myself this pat on the back. Yeah, I can set a new goal, but let me just relish right here for a second and realize, oh my goodness, I did it. This is phenomenal. We live in a fast-paced world, a go mentality where you never have enough, you will never be enough until you reach this, and then even then when you get it, you've built such a habit of realizing you aren't enough that you will set the next goal and the next goal and the next goal, trying to achieve peace, happiness, freedom, self-love for that matter, self-improvement, personal development. And then all of these aspects, what are you actually chasing to get that external goal? An
mhm,
internal result. So
mm,
when you actually take the time to sit with yourself, no matter where you call it the hero's journey, you call it the crucible, wherever life is trying to take you, it is your specific story. But in that story, the only time you can actually close a chapter or start a new chapter is when you realize what the lesson was there. And everything in life is trying to guide you to an internal self-improvement, personal development lesson that when you learn it, cool, let me move forward. I just passed this level. Let me move up to the next level.
mm,
And when you start to pursue that peace, that love, that joy, that abundance mentality for that matter, that abundance mindset, you realize that's all in here. And when you achieve it, no matter what culture you come from, no matter what spiritual background, mindset background you have with your perspective of the world, you realize, oh, hey, it starts with me. And if I better me and spend time with me and love this version of me that I'm becoming and that I am right here, right now, your best self, your higher self, as they call it, you start to take steps in this version of you. And you know, you and I were talking before we hit the record button. That's something in my own story right now, you know, pursuing, helping people, everything like that is all I've ever wanted to do. But the past year since we hopped on the first time to do a podcast, I told you before we started recording, like literally my story has been a whole lot of internal work that I sometimes I didn't even realize I was doing it. But in the pursuit of these external goals, you start to realize, what am I not doing that would help me get to where I want to be? And everything that a lot of us do not do is take the time to spend with ourselves and take the time to put work on us so we can achieve the goal and really have it, not constantly try to chase it. But I just went off on a rant, so I'll pass it back off to you.
Yeah, no, I understand. So there's a lot to take away from there that I can get started with. First off, I think when we look at everything, like everything you're surrounded by when you're younger, and even now, it's society that is molding you into the person that it quote unquote wants you to be. Whereas true success and happiness is the freedom to think for yourself and make decisions for yourself, as opposed to going and wanting something that you think you might want. You know, so a good book that I actually just read was The Gap and the Gain.
Okay.
That's my voice is like a little shaken. I'm freezing in here. But yeah, I don't know. I turned the heat up, but I'm absolutely free. I don't know. I'm shivering. But anyways, yeah, The Gap and the Gain, and it's to roundtable this book. It's basically about a lot of us live in the gap. We look at everything that we want that we haven't achieved, where the gain is looking back on all of the wins that you've had. And when you're able to look back on all of the wins that you have as opposed to everything that you don't have, it's this really big mindset shift that you're going to have, because we don't celebrate everything that we've created and everything that we've gone through. Instead, we look at everything that we don't have. And when you're able to have that mindset shift, I think your life can really start to change. So one thing, I was actually talking with someone yesterday, a mutual friend between the both of us.
Okay.
And I was talking about the past and the present. And I love that you said who you're becoming. But to me, I did a journal prompt with some of my friends the other day, and it was, we wrote down who we were, who we are, and who we're becoming. And when I wrote down who I was, and then I wrote down who I'm becoming, everything that I'm becoming is actually who I am.
Nice.
And when you can start to understand that who you're becoming, when you can pull that towards the present, as opposed to taking your past and pulling the past into the present, that's when your life starts to change, I think.
Yeah, I agree to that wholeheartedly. Yeah. And that's phenomenal. I agree with you with it. And I understand the perspective of, you know, everyone in the world has a past, everyone in the world has a future, no matter what. And the beauty of life is to find yourself in the present moment. And you know, I always like working with so many people literally around the globe at this point. It's everyone has a different culture they come from, a different perspective they have, a different faith, a different trust, whatever it is. Regardless of where you find yourself listening right now, find yourself in the present moment. And when you start to realize that if you can pull yourself out of the future and pull yourself out of the past, all you have is right here, right now. So, Shawn, agreeing with you right now, where you can write down, all right, who am I becoming? Well, I am this person. So then to ask the question of, what do I want to add to this version of myself to make myself even that much, I want to say better, but even that much a greater version of you. And so to write that down and be like, all right, well, I don't know, maybe someone listening right now has done the same process and they, well, you know what? I'm a confident person right now, but what does that next level of confidence look like to me? I say someone's in a relationship right now and I love my spouse right now, but what's that next level of love? How can I
Mm,
continue? And I think that's the beauty of life is we are all individually on the constant betterment of ourselves. You are becoming someone, the higher version of yourself, the best version of yourself on a daily basis. And those of us that choose to take hold of that process find the results. I'm not going to say quicker, but you're finding what you're searching for. Your mind is beginning to focus on this outlet, this outcome that I like. This is me. I'm a confident, say, affirmations come into play. I'm a confident, beautiful version of myself. I am abundant. My mindset is lined up to where I want to be and where I am right here, right now. And what that does is it builds your confidence in such a way, it builds your perspective in such a way where anything is yours. And when we
mm,
step into an abundant mindset rather than a lack mindset or a scarcity mindset, as you began us with, you start to realize anything is yours and can be yours for that matter when you have that perspective of I am enough. Um,
mm,
and I think that's something that society has done this. I think we do it individually without even realizing it. We start to have the perspective of I am not enough. I will never be enough.
mhm.
Scarcity mindset, lack mindset. But when you and I might have talked about this last year just as much, and it's the abundant factor in life. But if I asked you right now, I do this to all my clients, I'll say in the middle of a session where the lack mindset starts to step in or I'm not enough.
Mhm.
I say, all right, well, who told you where you're not enough? And whether it's a personal belief or an external belief where there's not enough to go around. If you start to ask yourself, all right, well, how many blades of grass are on the lawn outside? Well, I don't know. There's a lot. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah.
It's abundance, right? And then if I
Mhm.
said to you, say you went to the beach, and you're having a good time, but you took a second and say, hey, how many pebbles of sand are on the beach? You can't, no one can put a number on that. How many
Yeah.
cups of water are in the ocean? Can't put a number on it. The universe, our entire world, our entire environment tells us and shows us that there is abundant and more than enough to go around for everyone. And then you take it to an emotional standpoint. All right, how much love can I give to people?
Mm.
You can't put a unit on that, a
Mhm.
number on that. You can't put a unit on how much confidence you have. It's only you being the best version of yourself and moving forward and becoming that best version of yourself on a daily basis. So when you start to pull all this in and you start to realize if it starts with me, but my mindset has become abundant where I am enough, I am the best version of myself, I'm abundant, I am rich, I am loved, I am wealthy, I'm healthy, I'm whole, whatever your affirmation becomes, you start to walk it out. And the beauty of the mind is that it starts to find it for you. So now,
Mm.
law of attraction, law of resonance, all this beautiful mindset aspects come into play, where now life is trying to show you how abundant you are in every single area, how loved you are in every single area, how powerful and confident you are in every single area. And then when you start to live at that higher level, where you're like, oh my goodness, the inner work, the internal work is paying off because my life changed, and you won't even know the moment it happened. You're just this new version of yourself. So to connect everything together for you, Shawn, right now, where you can't see or you don't know the becoming aspect because you are it.
Mm.
That's where you want to live in life. The constant present moment, the constant unfoldment of the best version of who you are. From that point onward, man, like life is just good. And that's what I want everyone to experience for that matter.
I think what happens is we put, just like you said with affirmations, right? If you took out every single affirmation that you want, okay? I want to be confident. I want to be loved.
Mhm.
Okay. And you just replace the words I want with I am,
Yep.
everything changes.
Yep.
Because once you can fully believe it, embody it, and understand that you are enough,
Hmm.
as opposed to I want to be enough, that's when everything will start to change, where you will not be able to quote unquote be enough unless you can accept that you are enough.
100%.
You
Exactly.
know? So a question that I have for you now is like something for me that has worked for me. And I have my own set of core values.
Yep.
Okay. Would you What would you say are some core values that you hold yourself to?
Okay. Um, it's funny. My core values to me, it's never phrased in that way, but if I take a step back and see how I walk through my day, it's there. And you and I, we met in the gym last year, right?
Hmm.
And so we both give off a positive vibe. We give off a good person vibe, everything like that. A value that always stands out to me that I walk in on a daily basis is just to be a good person.
Hmm.
And it's so simplified, and people listen, oh, well, okay, yeah, I can do that. But to see the impact you have on other people just by being in a good mood, and I'm not saying like, hey, like I have my bad days. People, oh, Billy, you're always smiling, you're always in a positive mood. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
And so I could sit there and I could have a storm in my personal life, but I will always take the time to check in on how everyone else is doing. Yes, I have a heart to help people. Yes, I have a want to see how everyone else is doing. But that's what life is all about, a community aspect, a social piece. And I think, sadly, in this day and age, the social aspect has declined exponentially because
Hmm.
everyone's heads are in their phone. Everyone's afraid to talk to other people. I've never, like, hey, I went up and talked to whoever I could today. I introduced myself to like 3 different people in the gym today that I've never done before. But hey, we're killing it in the gym. We have a like mind aspect where at 5 a.m., we're destroying this place so we can start the rest of the day. We can get along. Hey, how's your day going? Right. So,
Hmm. Yep.
but the core value I walk in is, one, be confident, but two, be that good person, because in this day and age, there's very little of that going around. And it's not that I'm trying to be someone for everyone else. It's just that that core value has always been there. And, I was on a podcast a couple months ago, and someone, the interviewer asked me, the daily basis, what's the process that you go through, everything like this. My core value of just being a good person, I don't know, like if you looked at the environment I grew up in, like, yes, good people, good family for sure, whole lot of stress, whole lot of problems going on. And then I chose to walk out of that. I'm like, all right,
Hmm.
well, I don't want to be this, I am this. And as the
Hmm.
connected piece, right? So if I could see myself as this good person, I could see myself as someone that could make someone laugh, could make someone smile on their toughest day. That to me, one, you're helping someone else, which is the driving force behind everything that I do. Helping people is the name of the game in life. But if you sit there and to me, to put the perspective back on myself, if I am someone that can help someone out of their toughest time, even for a moment, you got to put the perspective back on yourself and realize, wow, okay, that means something to me. And so a core value to me would just be, you got to be a good person. But two, we're going to connect together for everything right now. I do not want to say you got to want it in your life. You got to want more in your life, because I pursued that for so long, and it
Hmm.
just left me always wanting more, but never reaching the goal that I had. And life will help you in every way possible. The universe is working to help you. God is helping to help you. The source is helping you. Whatever term you want to use for it. I come from a faithful background. I wholeheartedly believe God has helped me in every single moment. And so when you take a step back and you look at how your life is intertwined together, where all things work together for you, you start to sit there and realize life is trying to help you not get to where you think you need to get to, but life is trying to help you realize how great you are. And so when you realize it, connecting to what we started, when you realize that every piece of pain, every piece of happiness, every piece of stress, every piece of love that you've been through in life, no matter how it started, no matter how it ended, no matter how it's going right now, is yours, and you're meant to enjoy it to the fullest, even if it's painful. And then you
Hmm.
come out, and instead of letting your head drop for so long, which we all do, and you pick your head up and you're like, so that's why I went through it. You
Hmm.
start to find the reason to the pain. And when the pain, guarantee you wholeheartedly 100% of the time, your pain was one of the best things to ever happen to you if you can learn the lesson in it. And core value, another core value is, I'm not going to tell you to always look out what's the lesson in this.
Hmm.
Core value is at some point in your week, your month, do it a couple times throughout the year, take a step back. And I have to do that. I do that on a daily basis. Take
Mm.
a step back in your life and really see, one, where am I? Two, what is life trying to show me? 3, what the heck was life trying to teach me? Because if you can answer those questions, and believe me, if you find yourself, take yourself back to here and now, the answer's there. Universe is going to tell it to you. God is going to tell it to you. You're going to realize why you went through what you went through. And when you get that answer, the pain fades away because you got the reason for it. And we continue our pain in a daily basis because we're constantly asking why. But if we're so our perspective is on the past, our perspective is on the future. Again, coming back to what you said, Shawn, when you come back to that present moment, here and now, you get your answer and you can let it go. And when you can let it go, it opens the door for something new to come in, for some joy to come in, for life to show you, hey, I had to guide you through that. I had to guide you through that pain so you can come out better. And then when you realize you're better because you did the internal work to connect all the pieces together now, you start to walk in this greater version of you, this higher frequency, this higher level of abundance, this higher self. And at that point, people are going to ask you, hey, why are you always smiling? Why are you always in such a good mood? Why are you always making people laugh? Why are you doing this? It's like, it's not that you have to force it. It's just this has become who you are. You walk in a vibrancy of positivity. You walk in a radiancy of love, light, joy. And these are deeper emotional terminologies. But isn't that at the end of the day what we love to be around? Because it makes us feel good. And if you can walk in that because you did the internal work, you took a step back and you walk in this best version of you, this good mood constantly. All right, man, life is good at that point. That's the best part.
Yeah. Give me 1 second. I gotta go grab a sweatshirt because if not,
Dude,
my voice is gonna shake
dude,
the whole time.
dude, no worries.
Yeah, no, I don't know what was going on. I'm not shaking this bad when I come out of the cold shower in the morning. Like, I don't know. But yeah, no, I love that. Like, for me, I think like some of my core values that I'll share, and I think that they'll really resonate with you. The biggest one that I have that I think I see in you as well is to leave everyone that I meet better off than when I found them. And I think that's the foundation of like your core values as well in becoming a better person, being a kinder person, you know? Um, some of my other core values just include like brutal honesty. You know, that's a big core value because I wasn't always the most honest person. And now if I can go and just be as honest as I can be, I don't have to hide anything now, you know?
Yeah.
So another thing that I just took away from that, I had to write as much as I could down, where you talked about this version where you want to go and this past version of you, and you basically have to let go and almost kill off this past version of you in order to create the next version of you or the version of you that puts you in this present moment.
I
You
get that.
know?
Yeah.
So I'll get to a question about that in a moment, but then the other thing that you had mentioned was goals. And I think I've stopped setting goals for myself because I think a goal is just a limit that you put on yourself. Okay. So if you just hold yourself to your standard as opposed to setting a goal, I think that's when you actually go and you will find that you can achieve that goal that you desired.
I get that. Yeah.
You know,
So let me play with you then. If
yeah.
so, and I agree with you on the goals piece. I find like I have goals for myself.
Hmm.
I write goals down. I set the target, if you will.
Hmm.
And there's a great speaker out there that when I was going through an extremely tough time in my life, his messages just hit me in my core and helped me so much. Les Brown, incredible speaker. And he had this quote, and he said, "Shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you land among the stars." And he
Hmm.
says this is a much passionate, emotional way during his messages. But I sat there and connected to my goals where shoot for your target. And in the pursuit of your target, you will get better and you might not hit it, but you're on a higher level.
Hmm.
And so, with the aspect of the standard piece coming to play, I think you have to be able to raise your standard to make sure life is growing in the direction that you want it to.
Hmm.
And so my goals that I set now, it's funny. I take affirmations into them. I
Mhm.
write my goals in the present tense of the sense
Mm.
that I have them now. I'm
Mhm.
not writing the goal of I want to be a millionaire, I want to be a multi-millionaire or whatever it is. I'm writing the goal that I am a millionaire. Uh,
Mhm.
in this specific moment right now, does the bank account show that? Doesn't matter because
Mhm.
my mind shows that.
Mhm.
So my standard now on a personal level, on a self level, is raised where I am
Mm.
walking through life at this higher standard. And because I'm walking through this life at this higher standard, the universe comes into play, God comes into play, law of attraction, law of resonance, manifestation, all these incredible terminologies we use around the world start to work in your favor.
Mhm.
Because when your standard of your mindset and your standard of yourself rises, everything else in life is going to help you in that sense to be on that level. It's going to rise for you. So when
Mm.
you raise the standard for yourself and you live at that higher standard because your mind is now believing, hey, Shawn's here. Hey,
Mhm.
we're gonna throw names out there. Emily's here. We're gonna throw names out there.
Mm.
Jack is here. We're gonna throw names out there. Billy is here. When your mind is telling you that back to yourself, you've reached a whole new level of abundant mindset. There is no more lack involved. But because your thoughts are moving in that powerful direction and your true core belief in yourself is that you are here, everything in life is going to prove it to you externally because your internal work is telling the universe, the external, everything like that, that this is what you believe. Shawn, you were at one of my seminars last year, I believe,
Mhm.
a little over a year ago.
Mhm.
And one area that I teach in my seminars is how your mind is so powerful. It's a universal tool, and it
Mm.
can do anything. It can create anything. It can answer any question that you have. But the beauty of the mind is that it is like a radio transmitter. It is 100% of the time sending out a message, a frequency, a vibrancy to whatever that you
Mhm.
direct it to, that you set it on. And there's like people, I've got clients that come in, I got friends that come in and say, Bill, life is it's going in a downward direction.
Mhm.
I just can't seem to get out of this funk. I'm like, all right, well, what are you focusing on a daily basis? Well, my girlfriend broke up with me, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, like I will show you how sorry I am, and we'll go have a great time and just get your mind off of it.
Mhm.
Why am I trying to get someone's mind off of it? The pain happened.
Mhm.
Wholeheartedly, you need to process the pain. You need to allow yourself to heal through the pain. But if your mind's going to constantly be focusing on the pain itself, your mind's going to constantly be focusing on the stress and what is not here, a lack, scarcity mindset, you are telling the universe, you are telling God, bring in more of this. Show me more of what's not in my life. And
Mhm.
I've walked that life. I don't have to tell people listening right now how that life feels. That life is not fun. And the only reason I've pursued more for myself is because I tried to break out of what's not in my life. And again,
Mm.
that comes back to the present moment that you mentioned earlier. When you're in the present moment and you have an abundant mindset where all your needs are met, that's a scripture right there. All your needs are met. Everything is here now. God, the universe, whatever term people might use, is providing for you. And
Mhm.
that's your mindset in the present moment. You do not need, you do not lack. You are what you are, and what you are is abundant as ever. It's here, it's right now. You're the best you can be. And then you start to walk in that. Your mind, because it's a transmitter, it's a radio transmitter, sends the frequency out. If you're telling yourself how loved you are, how abundant you are, life is going to start to show you that truth
Mhm.
because you're telling it. It's your belief. And I'm doing a master class right now myself because I want to keep myself moving forward just as much. And they're teaching you abundant mindset to train your mind to believe in this way. And it goes through every area of life: your health, your wealth, your love, your all the mindset, everything. And one area is when you go through the love and the relationship aspect is it's not about, hey, how's your relationship going with your spouse? It's about how much you have a relationship with yourself and love yourself. So one of
Mm.
my affirmations became, I am lovable. And
Mm.
I never say that to myself on a consistent basis before this
Mhm.
class. It was just, no, like there's a part of you that believes it, that wants it.
Mm.
You truly believing that you are it. Are you lovable? And so, I'm a coach for sure. I'm a speaker for sure, but my mind is observing. And so when I started saying this affirmation on a daily basis, I started to incorporate this in a certain way. I started to notice more and more people are, in a great way, coming up talking to me about these great things, whether it's personal stuff with me, whether it's personal stuff with them, whatever it is. You got to take the step back, as I said earlier. You just have to ask why. Okay, this is kind of cool. I love all these people come talk to me, but they're coming up to talking to me and showing me this positivity. They're showing me this love. If I've been telling myself for however many weeks at this point that I am lovable, and there's a shift happening in my personal life, the external aspect of it, and people are coming up to me and showing me in all aspects a love aspect, okay, it's working. It's because
Mm-hmm.
my belief changed. So
Mm-hmm.
if your mind is the transmitter, you got to ask yourself, what are you asking yourself? What am I thinking? What am I focusing on? And if you
Mm-hmm.
shift that to something higher, life will bring you to something higher. Raise your standards, connect it all back together to you.
No, no, I feel you. Like when someone comes and they say, I'm going through this hard time, my girlfriend just broke up with me.
Mhm.
The thing that we automatically do, don't think about this. You
Mm,
know, don't think about an elephant. What's the first thing you think of? An elephant.
yeah,
You just
yeah,
picture an elephant.
yep,
That's what happens. So the more you try to fight that as opposed to just surrender and let it happen,
yep,
when you're trying and focusing to not think about it, you're pulling that past into the present.
100%.
you
Exactly.
know,
Yep.
whereas it happens, go through, let your emotions out, and eventually it will pass, but you continue to hold yourself to the standard of who you are, and that's going to pull more things into your future. I love when you were talking about like um I am a millionaire. Like the way I interpret it and use it for myself is I always thought I want to be successful,
Mhm,
where the way that we operate when we say I want to be successful, it's something as how do I become successful?
mhm,
Whereas now when you say I am successful, you start to operate at a higher level
yep,
because you're already successful with everything that you have, but now more success will come to you
mhm,
because you already believe and you will like the actions and the behaviors that you're going to do are
mhm,
going to be different of someone that is successful because you are successful right now,
yep,
as opposed to someone that believes I am going to be successful. How do I get there? How do I go and operate at a higher level?
right.
Whereas now you need to go and say, this is the present moment. I am successful now. So these are the things that I do, and
Mhm,
this is how I operate. These are the standards I hold myself to.
yep,
And so when you have that belief in yourself of I am successful now, I am successful with everything that I have,
mhm.
those things will be pulled towards you as opposed to like trying to go and chase them.
100%. And yeah, I'll say this, and I know you had another question with
Mhm, mhm,
the past aspect, but I'll say this to connect with that. If I'm saying on a daily basis, or I'm thinking on a daily basis, I want to be in an incredible relationship. I
mhm,
want to be in a loving relationship with whoever the best person is for me. Whatever the terminology someone uses. I want to be a millionaire. I want to be successful. Want is a correspondence to not enough, because
mhm,
you're now operating at a frequency of I don't have it.
mm,
So life, the universe, God is going to show you you don't have it. So when we are in an energy, a frequency of want, all we're saying is, I don't have it. Show me more that I don't have it.
mhm,
And that in itself, it can light a fire in people to get moving, to take action for sure, which is a great thing. I stuck in the level of want for years. And it's funny. I got a bulletin board behind here, but I used to have on my wall, the goals that I have for myself. And
mhm,
again, the affirmations, how I write them. And I wrote down the date, and I took the time on some Saturday or Sunday, and I took like a crayon, giant crayon. This thing was a monstrous piece of paper, and I wrote everything out, and then I put it on the wall, because if you see it every single day, you're going to start to move in that direction. And it didn't dawn on me until like a year later. I reread these. I'm like, they're all in the terminology of want. Of
mm,
course, they didn't get here. Some of them move forward for sure, But until I really grasp that law, that's a law of attraction,
Mhm.
foundational belief of this want aspect, and how you have to kind of throw want out the window, and it's what you are, it's what is here right now. And when I realized that my goals were all set in the form of wants, like, wow, it like dawned on me. I'm like, you don't waste time. There's no wasting. That's, as I said to people earlier, take a step back and realize the lesson you learned in it. I
Mhm.
didn't slow anything down in my life. I continued to pursue better for myself. Of course, that's the goal. It's a major goal. Did I achieve the goal in the want period? No, but when I learned the lesson, it maximized the results of I am. And when you
Mhm.
start to walk in the I, and the great I am, as the scripture states it, and there's so much power behind that statement itself. When you start to walk in the energy of I am, whatever comes after that, you are. And then life shows you that you are. So,
Mhm.
it's incredible, Shawn. It's incredible.
Yeah. Um, what I want to take away from that is like I have when you talk about taking a step back in your life, the way I interpret it is you're basically auditing your life, right? You're looking at everything and you're seeing where you want to improve. You're seeing what you have been doing, what's been working and what hasn't. Um, uh, uh, I've how should I word this? It's weird because I say, "How should I word this?" But in a
Mhm.
sense, like, all I wanna talk about is words, okay?
Yep.
Because words are so powerful, and this is
Yep.
something that has only been enlightened to me recently, right?
Okay.
Is words and how powerful words are, especially the words that we use. Have
Mhm.
you done and so have you audited I know that you talk about the bulletin board and the I wants to the I ams. Is that the first moment for you where you started to audit the words that you used?
Um, to an extent, I feel like that's always been, I'll say this, in me speaking for however many years it's been now, I vocabulary, the words you use showed to be extremely powerful to me.
Mhm,
And very often you start to realize, I've definitely talked about this in the past, like growing up, like how my story to speak began is, me and my brother, my family, my dad would sit me and my brother down and watch wrestling and
mhm,
see these guys with the microphone talking and captivating an audience. And that to me sparked a want to captivate an audience way back when I was like 6 years old.
mhm,
And so as I pursued this speaking dream, this speaking goal, this what has now become my reality, I sit there and my vocabulary became so much more important. So when I'll say this for people that write down their affirmations, let's connect everything together, Shawn. When people are
mhm,
write down their affirmations, they can do it right now. Use different vocabulary. So
mhm,
you have to excite yourself with the words that you are using. And
mhm,
that's in a positive perspective on a vocabulary of the sense of what's some people always say, well, affirmation, I am great. And I'll
mhm,
tell my clients that say I am great, like, hey, I think you are. That's phenomenal.
mhm,
But change the terminology. And like, well, what do you mean? I was like, what's a better word than great? And so like I just used it right now because it's in my vocabulary. Phenomenal. Right.
mhm,
Who is going about their daily process telling I am phenomenal?
mhm.
That's not coming up that often, but that's what I do
Yeah.
because I want to change my mind, my brain for that matter, on how it
Mhm,
operates. I want it to be in this higher level. So I had to use different vocabulary. That's it on a positive aspect. The connecting it to the want, where I don't want to say it's a negative thing to write in
mhm,
that form, but
mhm,
when you realize how powerful your words are, you kind of got to level them up. You
mhm,
have, I'm not saying go read the dictionary, the thesaurus, and see what words are better. Like, no, don't do that. But how will you excite yourself with your words? And
mhm,
there's something I teach to in my seminars, my clients just as much, and I call it the trifecta. And when you realize how powerful your thoughts are that we mentioned earlier, how your thoughts connect wholeheartedly to the words that you use. And when your thoughts are moving in the right direction, your words are moving in the right direction, that impacts your actions that you then take. And if you're
mhm,
trying to create in this reality a better life for yourself, Your thoughts have to be moving in a great direction. Your words will then have to be moving in a great direction externally, but also the words that you speak to yourself with.
Mm-hmm.
And then that will dictate what actions you then take, which in turn altogether creates the results that you receive and how you enjoy those results. So if your words have so much power in that standpoint, how do you talk to yourself?
Mm.
I just my YouTube channel once a week with Billy G. This past Sunday, that was the message. And on this inner, I call it the inside job, but the whole purpose of it was your inner dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
How are you talking to yourself? And I made that because I had to really dive into that the past few weeks of myself, but it started popping up more and more with every single coaching client that I have, that they'll come into session, and whether it's not enoughness, whether it's of questioning their worth because of some experience they had during the week or whatever it is, or stressing about something. And I'll sit there, I'm like, what are you saying to yourself on a daily basis?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? It's like, have you taken inventory of how you talk to yourself? And like, well, no. I'm like, all right, then we're going to do that right now. And we'll spend an entire session doing it. And what I have them do is I want you to write down the new responses that you will use if your mind goes to a negative place about you.
Mm.
And when you start to build up these different responses, you are constantly empowering yourself. And that is a process that takes some time for sure, but it connects together, Shawn, to the vocabulary that we then use, and how, as you described it, how you audit your words and whatnot. Because from day one of our lives, we are listening to people, we are observing people. I mentioned earlier, cartoons, TV shows, the news, everything like that. Social media now more than ever is pushing us to think in a certain way, but shows us that we don't have what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
So we then set the goal for ourselves to have what we're looking at, because that's what happiness looks like, is what we're told.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have this, you aren't enough. If you don't have this, you aren't important. If you don't have this, you're not loved. If you don't have this, you're not important. Whatever the terminology people want to use, just creates a deeper inner stress. And so your brain, your mind starts to use vocabulary of, I'm not good enough. I don't have this. I'm not this. I don't have this. And it comes back to the want, which is the whole purpose of what we've been talking about. But when you actually start to change that daily routine and pattern of the words you use to talk to yourself, and say a client of mine, she her whole goal is, I just want to live a more peaceful, like positive life, if that makes any sense. I'm like, of course that makes sense. And I started diving into this inner dialogue, like, how do you talk to yourself? And she said, oh, Billy, like, I'm kind of beating myself up. Like, yeah, 99% of the world beats themselves up because we have been trained to be our hardest critic. We have been trained to believe that we aren't enough. But what if you changed I am not enough, or to I am enough? I am more than enough. I am worthy of everything that I want to have in this life. And I see it come to me every single moment, every single day. And you start to speak in this energy. You start to speak in this positivity, this higher frequency, higher vibrancy. What you're doing is building your own energy up, sends a message, your thoughts, to then bring it in, which dictates the actions you take to get it and the results that you receive because of it. So we teach as the trifecta, but you have to be able to change up the responses to your inner dialogue, which then changes your thoughts. Your thoughts will dictate the words you externally use, which then dictates the actions you take and the life that you live. Yeah.
Many people talk to themselves worse than they would talk to their worst enemy.
100%.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yep.
I've been guilty of it. I've done it. Everyone's done it. Every single person listening to this has done that.
Yep.
Think about the last time you tore yourself down. Think about the last time you celebrated how amazing you are and how much of enough you are.
Yep.
Everything that you said there is basically the key to life. Okay. And when you can figure that out and embody it and change it, everything will start to change. So, like, a lot of the work that I have done and I have started doing for others is now everything based on this trifecta that you have of the words that we use, right? The words that we use create this story that you believe, and then this story creates your identity. And this
Mhm.
identity that you have created for yourself is what dictates all of your actions.
Mm.
Okay. So the more that you tear yourself down, the more that your subconscious, which makes 70% of the decisions that you have throughout the day. So if you have created this identity for yourself of this monster, of this awful, undeserving person, those are the behaviors and actions that you're going to go and do,
Mhm.
whether it's in a conscious or subconscious manner. And then later that day, you're going to be like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Whereas you programmed yourself to go and do that
Mhm.
because of how much you've torn yourself down. So
Yeah.
the more that you can take an audit of these are the words I'm using, especially for myself, and now how can I change those words? Change the words that you're voicing. That will change your thoughts that you're having, and that's going to change the outcome that you're going to have.
100%. Exactly. Yeah.
So everything that you said there was picture perfect. I mean, it was that's exactly what we need to do. What is an action step that we can take right now listening to this to go and change the words that we're using to talk to ourselves?
Mm. I said this in my message this past Sunday, um, on the inside job video, and I ended it with this, where people listening to Shawn and myself right now, people listening to, could be a motivational video on YouTube. It could be a pastor's message on YouTube. It could be a radio show, whatever it is, someone spends the time to listen to. I always want to tell people, go grab the simplest thing possible, a pad of paper and a pen.
Mm.
That will be your greatest, I want to use the terminology weapons to kind of to move forward.
It is though. It really is.
It is, right? But it's going to be your great, we'll call it instrument. It's going to be your
Mm.
greatest instrument to create the life that you know you are meant for. I'm not going to say
Mhm.
that you want, you know it. You feel it in your heart, you feel it in your spirit that you are meant for this. If you grab a piece of paper and a pen and to really dive into this vocabulary aspect and this responses you talk to yourself, I don't, you can. There's a couple different ways to do it. I don't want you to sit there and write down what you say to yourself now. You can, but if you do that, say you write down 10 statements that you say to yourself, no matter how harsh they are, you put them on that piece of paper and then you cross everyone out with like a bold marker. And then
Mm.
under each one, you write down the new statement you're going to say to yourself. So if you're saying, oh, it's crazy. It's sad, but it's crazy how far our minds go into negativity when we're going through stress or pain. And like with me, when I was going through a heartbreak in the past, oh my goodness, before I knew this stuff, the how I talk to myself, what the heck, man? I look
Mhm.
back, I'm like, yo, I know I was in so much pain, but dang, man, you went really hard on yourself in the sense.
Yeah.
And then to come out of that, to
Mm.
really be able to heal yourself from a heartbreak, from a pain, from not having the love that you thought was going to be yours forever, to now becoming the love that will forever be with you, that you can take into the next relationship. So
Mhm.
in when going through a relationship pain, you start to be really hard on yourself. You start to sit there and be like, oh my goodness, I'm not enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not in the best shape, I'm not pretty, I'm not beautiful, whatever people are using now. And then you sit there and you cross everyone off and you write down, do an I am statement, do whatever it is, but how you want to talk to yourself, how you wish someone would talk to you when you're a kid, because every
Mhm.
kid wants to be built up. So this is, well, I'm going to take it to a whole nother level. This is a
Mhm.
deep inner work aspect that I've done with some clients, and it's you start to see in everything that we're pursuing in life. I don't care if it's pain, I don't care if it's pleasure, I don't care if it's you're pursuing the success that you've dreamed about your entire life. At some point, you are going to come to a place where you are going to need to heal the kid that was hurt when you were there, when you were little. So
Mm.
when you're doing this entire process, essentially at the bare foundation, you are changing your limiting beliefs about you and experiences, environments that you lived in as a kid, experiences and environments that you went through when you were in high school, college, whenever the pain came to you started to get a frame of the world and you started to see the world through a certain lens and it was telling you this negativity. And if you do the deep inner work with a piece of paper and a pen, and you cross all this stuff out and you write down new beliefs that you have about you and new beliefs you have about life. And if we're going to stick on a relationship standpoint, use my example. I am lovable. Something as simple as that. Write down, you can write, I am meant to be in an incredible relationship, and it's going to help you elevate to the person that can be. Or you can write down, I am in a phenomenal relationship with a man, woman, whoever, who loves me on such an incredible level. And it's so much joy every single moment. You write this out. Like I said, use different vocabulary, because very often we don't use that deeper work. We're like, I am in such an incredible relationship where every single moment is just so much joy, so much passion, so much love, that's what I love experiencing every single moment of my life. No one goes about their day talking like that, but you can write it on a piece of paper. And then eventually you start to say it to yourself in here. And because you're repeating it to yourself on these greater statements that you wrote down, and these greater statements become your inner belief, your foundational belief you have about you. As we said earlier, life is going to have to rise to the standard that you set for yourself. And if that standard is this higher level, get ready, because you're about to see the result of your actions, because your thoughts and your words are now moving in that direction. So grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and write down the new responses that you want to say to yourself. I say it in such a deep way, but guys, it's so simple. It really is. I know I get passionate with my words and everything like that, but if you, simple as ever, grab a piece of paper, grab a pen, and write down how you want to talk to yourself, and write it down, but now talk to yourself in that way. Simple as that.
That is one of the most powerful exercises that you can do, because I don't quote me on the statistics of it, but it's like something like 40% more powerful. I'm butchering it in a sense, but making it easy to understand, like the way I comprehended it, at least. It's around between 20 and 40% more powerful to write something down than just think it. And then when you can actually say it out loud, it's almost like this breath of fresh air and relief. It's this emotional release that you have, okay, when you're able to just speak it, and then you listen to it and you're like, this is how I've been talking to myself.
Right.
That inner child that we have, we all have that inner child that wants to be comforted. And we overlook or don't take the time to go and heal that inner child, where that's all that little child wants is the person that you are. The exact person that you are is the person that inner child needs. And so when you can go and be that person for your inner child, then that inner child will understand, okay, this is not who I am. This was a moment in time, but who I am in the present is actually who I am, not the scared little child that was.
And yeah, 100%. And the scared child that we could still be, I'll say that we could still be, because those inner beliefs, we go about life. I've got clients that could be in their 50s, their 60s, whoever it is, that have never done this inner deep work. But you see the results in how we live our lives. The pain that we went through as a kid, it's like it just gets layers put on top of it. And because that now becomes the core belief, all these layers, you think about the earth, think of this core, and there's layers of earth, right? And all these layers are now put on top of this core belief that I'm not enough, or whatever it might be. You might achieve something in life, but every single thing that you took a step towards, because that inner belief wasn't healed, that inner child wasn't healed, everything is now stemmed. Every result you have is stemmed from not enoughness. So all that you might have achieved, you might not think you ever achieved anything, because it wasn't enough. So to take the time and really heal the inner child, you heal that belief, but you create the new belief. And there was something that was told to me years ago, and it stuck out. I think it's Tony Robbins that said this. So people listening, if you haven't listened to our first podcast, I was trained by Tony Robbins years ago. His team therapist. That's what got me into coaching and now speaking on my own terms and everything like that. So one thing that was said, and I think he's got messages on YouTube just as much saying this. I'm going to paraphrase it in my own terminology, but when you heal the boy, the man comes alive.
Mm.
When you heal the girl, the woman comes alive, and so on and so forth to where we are in life for that matter. But to everyone listening, it's you haven't, and maybe you've done this work and you're living life in a great level. You haven't seen what life is fully like until that inner child, that little boy, little girl is healed and gets to see life through the eyes of love, the eyes of abundance, the eyes of joy, the eyes of peace, the eyes of true freedom, inner freedom that life has to offer. And when you realize that, you realize you are worthy for all the goodness that this life is meant to bring to you. To walk in that because you did the healing and the inner work. Oh my goodness, I can tell you, I can say this from experience. It's a constant process in life, but from where I have gotten to after I started this podcast with you by telling everyone how I have been doing so much internal work for months now, years, since probably since I last talked with you, man. It's like to see what life is like now, you walk with a different peace. You walk with a different joy. You walk with a different life is freaking awesome. Every day it's getting better and better. That's because the healing work was done for myself. So I tell listeners, I tell viewers right now, do the work. Life can only get better. And it's not going to be work like you have to go check in and clock in, whatever. It's not going to drain you. It's only going to add to you. So how do you say no?
Yeah, there's a freeness that it brings. There's more of a self-awareness that you bring to yourself where you see the world differently.
Yep.
Somehow it's already over an hour here.
Yeah, right.
So, but yeah, that's a great place to leave off because over an hour people stop listening or they don't get the benefit as much. I find so there was so much value, such an impactful conversation that we just had, and it was so different than the first time that we spoke.
Sure.
So
yeah,
really appreciate it, Billy.
No, of course. I'm more than happy to do these. I love these deep conversations. I want to round it out for people. There was one little tiny question you asked, had to be a half hour ago. Before you asked the question on words and before you asked the question on that aspect of mindset, you said something really small that people might have caught on to of in looking at your past. I think your terminology was you have to, in a way, in some vocabulary, kill off your past, that old identity of yourself and move
past
forward,
version of yourself.
right? So I want to make sure we round it out for people with that because it connects to everything we just said with healing the inner child. I went through life for a while thinking that I had to kill off the old version of myself. And I'm going to use different images right now for people to grasp it, where in high school, I think it's hilarious, but I got the nickname Billy G the Kid because you had Billy the Kid, right? And like Billy the Kid. So everyone, and so that's just what they called me. And I thought I was like, I love that. That's phenomenal. I would love that. And that continued into college and everything like that. And Billy the Kid, all this kind of stuff. I thought that was the coolest thing. And so after college is when my life got broken to its foundations, shattered. And I tell people listening right now, I love the fact that happened to me. But I went through a phase where I did my best. I tried my hardest to not be the old version of me, to not be in a perspective aspect, the Billy G the Kid that I grew up being. And I eventually got to a point where I was trying so hard not to be who I was that it created so many walls moving forward. So if we're talking about healing your inner child, if we're talking about in some terms killing off that old version of yourself, I come from the other side of the track and say I've walked that. Never kill off who you were, because who you were created who you are now, and who you are now is the best version of you could ever be. And as you continue to step in this great version of who you are, life gets better, but life could only bring you to this point because you had to walk through life as that old version, that old identity of you. So don't kill it off.
Mm,
Heal it for sure,
mm-hmm,
and see all the positive traits that came from that identity of you. Because as much as we can look at our past and be like, I can't stand it, I don't want to even think about this stuff anymore, I'm done with it, I'm over it, and you try and go full force ahead as I did, and you're pursuing life with momentum, all that stuff is still there.
mm-hmm,
As much as there might be pain there, there's so much good that you might have overlooked. And if you can look back and heal that version of that old identity of yourself and be like, you know what, that guy brought so much to the table. Let me take some of that now. Let me
mm-hmm,
heal some of that now. And then now you're adding to who you are because you're healing your past. You're taking all the goodness from it. You're letting go of the pain. You're finding the lessons in all of it. And then now you're even better. And you can
mm-hmm,
walk into your future, walk into tomorrow as this greater version of you.
mm-hmm,
So I say this to round out this message. Do not kill off that old version of yourself.
mm-hmm,
Become better because of it. And through
mm,
all the work that we talked about on this podcast today, this recording for that matter, it's leading you. Take hold. We went into like 10 different topics that all connect together.
mm-hmm,
Take one. And if you take one, try two, try three,
mm-hmm,
try five, try all 10 for that matter. But take the steps of action necessary to allow yourself to heal, to allow yourself to see that life is good. And if you choose to see it from that perspective, life will show you how good it is. And that's the
mm.
beauty of personal development, self-improvement, of walking in this life to find whatever joy is meant for you. But when you step into that process, I tell you straight up with a smile on my face, life gets so good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you explained it from your perspective because when I say kill off the past version of yourself, when I say that, the way that I interpret it and hope others interpret it, but I understand that not everyone is going to interpret it the way that I mean it to.
Mhm,
I'm killing off past patterns that
mhm,
I had put myself through.
yep.
The drinking, procrastination,
Mm,
the porn, the smoking,
mhm,
all of these things that bring you to a lower vibration.
yep.
Those are I'm killing off patterns.
Yeah,
I'm
for
not
sure.
necessarily killing off, which this is why I'm so glad you explained it because
Yeah.
I'm never I shouldn't say never, but I don't want to preach in a sense of like that past version of you means nothing. Like,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
it's a part of you. It's why you're here.
Yeah.
But the past version of you, those patterns and the negative self-talk, those are the things that I think is important from me to kill off.
Yeah.
Not
I get.
necessarily like, oh, just don't think about it. Don't, which listening to the conversation obviously
Mhm.
is don't think of the elephant, So, but I'm glad that we kind of got both like we're
Right.
just able to explain that to people that way they didn't take it to a literal
Yeah.
sense.
Right. And I
So
walk. Yeah.
I'm glad you explained that for
Yeah.
everyone.
No, and it's
So,
powerful. It's very powerful of letting go of our past. We need to let go of our past patterns and routines. So I agree with you wholeheartedly on that.
mhm, yeah,
Mm.
but this was perfect.
Yeah,
Awesome. So, yeah, just where we can find you, how we can work with you, and
of
we'll
course.
wrap it up for the day.
Yeah. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this message. I love talking with Shawn. No matter where we are, whether it's in person, heck, after a seminar for that matter, or like literally on a podcast, we always dive deep into this. So Shawn, I appreciate you so much for having me on here.
Mm,
Guys, if you want to hear more from me, if you want to find out more about the coaching aspect or our speaking gigs, everything like that, find me on YouTube, guys, once a week with Billy G. I know I touched on it a little bit earlier, but every single Sunday for the past, at this point, 326 straight weeks, we have brought a message to help people grow, to help people heal, to help people move
mm,
forward to their own self-improvement and personal development. We have yet to quit, and we never will, because we know that the entire message to help people in this process. Head to YouTube, check that out. Quick messages every single week, quick interviews. But guys, take it and run with it. And then you can head to BillyGLifeCoaching.com. You can find me on there, find our coaching and our speaking aspects. Head to Instagram, guys, at Billy Giannouloudis. I know I got a long last name. Type in Billy G Life Coaching. It's right there.
mhm.
But guys, it's all there. Everything that I try and put out there is to help people move forward, as this conversation was hopefully helping you do. But hey, reach out. I'm gonna be right there for you.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
no, appreciate it, Billy. And
Yep.
just remember, like, we all want this short fast track to fame and success and things like that. And embodying it is one thing, but doing the consistent work over a long period of time. Look at how many episodes of once a week Billy has, you
Mhm.
know, think about it like that. And then when you're not a YouTube star in 4 weeks after
Right.
you've been putting out one YouTube video every week, look
Mhm.
at the 300 that Billy has been doing for the past however many years that is, six
Yeah.
plus,
Yeah. Six
you
plus.
know?
Exactly. Yeah. Of
So, yeah. All right. Thank you, Billy.
course. Yeah.